Hello, friends. Welcome back to Listen Easy English. I am really excited to share an amazing story with you today. It is a story about a young man who changed the world in a way that few have ever done. His name was Alexander, and we call him Alexander the Great. His journey is filled with bravery, adventure, and remarkable achievements. So, get ready to learn about his life and the incredible things he accomplished. Alexander was born in the year 356 BC in a kingdom called Macedonia. This was a long time ago, much before many things we know today existed. His father was King Philip, a strong and powerful ruler, and his mother was Queen Olympias, a woman of great strength and vision. From the moment he was born, people noticed that Alexander was different from other children. He was strong and healthy, and his mother told him wonderful stories about heroes and gods. She said that he was special and had the blood of a great hero named Achilles running through his veins. These stories made Alexander feel brave and powerful. When Alexander was a young boy of about 12 years old, something very important happened that would change his life forever. His father, King Philip, bought a wild and beautiful horse named Bucephalus. This horse was not like any ordinary horse. It was wild and strong, and no one could ride it because it was afraid and angry. Many men tried to tame Bucephalus, but they all failed. They could not understand what the horse was feeling. Young Alexander watched carefully and noticed something that the other men did not see. He realized that Bucephalus was afraid of its own shadow. This was an important observation. One day, Alexander decided to try and ride the horse. He walked up to Bucephalus, showing no fear. He turned the horse toward the sun so it could not see its shadow. Then, with great courage, he climbed onto its back. Bucephalus became calm, and without any hesitation, Alexander rode away. Everyone watching was amazed. They had never seen anyone ride Bucephalus before. King Philip was incredibly proud of his son. He said to Alexander, "My son, you must find a kingdom big enough for you. Macedonia is too small for all your greatness." This was the beginning of Alexander's journey to greatness, and it set the stage for all the incredible things he would achieve in his life. As Alexander grew older, he had a special teacher named Aristotle. Aristotle was one of the greatest thinkers in history, and he taught Alexander many important subjects that would help him become a great leader. He taught him about philosophy, which is the love of wisdom, and he introduced him to science and medicine. Aristotle also taught him about plants and animals, poetry and art. Alexander loved learning and was very curious about the world around him. He carried books with him everywhere, even when he went to war. His favorite book was the Iliad, an ancient story about heroes and battles. Alexander read this book many times because he wanted to be like the heroes in the story. Aristotle taught Alexander for 3 years, and these years changed his life. They gave him a wealth of knowledge and a deep curiosity about the world. Alexander wanted to learn everything he could to prepare himself to become a great leader. When Alexander was just 16 years old, something significant happened. His father, King Philip, went away to fight a war, leaving Alexander in charge of Macedonia. This was a big responsibility for someone so young, but Alexander was ready for it. He had learned so much from his parents and his teacher, Aristotle. He was confident in his abilities and ready to prove himself. While King Philip was away, some people in the northern regions thought they could attack Macedonia. They believed that a young boy like Alexander could not defend the kingdom. But they were wrong. Alexander gathered an army and marched north to confront the invaders. He showed great bravery and leadership skills, winning his first battle at just 16 years old. When King Philip returned home, he was very impressed with his son. He realized that Alexander was not just smart, he was also a great leader, capable of inspiring others. 2 years later, when Alexander was 18, something even more significant happened. There was a great battle called the Battle of Cannae. King Philip was fighting against other Greek cities, and Alexander fought beside his father. He led the cavalry, which means soldiers who fought on horseback. Alexander and his cavalry were incredibly brave and fast. They helped win the battle, and this victory made Macedonia the most powerful kingdom in Greece. King Philip became the leader of almost all Greek lands, and everyone knew that young Alexander was a hero. People began to talk about him, and his reputation grew. But then something tragic happened. When Alexander was just 20 years old, his father was killed. Someone murdered King Philip at a wedding, and this was a very sad and shocking day for Alexander and everyone in Macedonia. Suddenly, Alexander found himself becoming king. He was very young to take on such a huge responsibility, and some people thought he was too young to rule. Some were even skeptical about following him. There were men who wanted to take the throne from him, and there were cities that wanted to break away from Macedonia. Alexander knew he had to act quickly and with strength to show everyone that he was a powerful king. He decided to march his army to the Greek cities that were rebelling against him. He reminded them of his father's victories and demonstrated his own strength and leadership skills. Most cities decided to follow him, but one city, called Thebes, did not. The people of Thebes thought they could fight against Alexander, and it turned out to be a big mistake. Alexander's army destroyed the city of Thebes to send a clear message: do not challenge Alexander. After this, no Greek city dared to fight against him. They all accepted him as their leader. Alexander was now not just the king of Macedonia, but also the leader of all Greece. However, he did not want to stop there. He remembered his father's dream of attacking Persia, the largest empire in the world at that time. Persia was a vast, wealthy, and powerful empire with millions of people. The Persian king was named Darius, and he ruled over a massive territory that stretched from India to Egypt. Alexander decided to continue his father's plan and invade Persia. He was determined to challenge the greatest empire on earth. In 334 BC, Alexander crossed into Asia with his army of about 40,000 soldiers. The Persian Empire had a much larger army, but Alexander was not afraid. He believed in himself and his men. He thought that destiny was on his side, and this belief motivated him to take bold actions. The first big battle Alexander faced happened at a river called the Granicus. The Persian army was waiting for him on the other side of the river. The river was deep and fast, and Alexander's generals advised him to wait for a better opportunity. They said it was too dangerous to cross the river and fight at the same time. But Alexander did not listen to their advice. He was brave and confident. He jumped into the water on his horse, Bucephalus, and his soldiers followed him. They crossed the river and fought the Persians. It was a hard battle, and Alexander was almost killed when a Persian soldier hit him on the head. Fortunately, his helmet saved him, and his loyal friend Cletus saved his life by killing the Persian soldier. In the end, Alexander won the battle, and the Persians ran away. This victory opened the door to Asia for him. After the battle, Alexander moved south along the coast, capturing city after city. Some cities welcomed him with open arms, while others fought against him. But Alexander always found a way to win. He captured important ports to prevent the Persian navy from using them. He was not just a warrior. He was also a smart general who planned his moves carefully. He didn't just win battles, he won the war step by step. One of the cities he captured was called Gordium. In this city, there was a famous knot known as the Gordian knot. It was very complicated, and an old legend said that whoever could untie the knot would rule all of Asia. Many people had tried to untie it, but no one had succeeded. When Alexander saw the knot, he thought for a moment. Instead of trying to untie it like everyone else, he pulled out his sword and cut the knot in half. This showed everyone that he did not accept limits and found solutions that others could not imagine. In 333 BC, Alexander fought his most important battle, called the Battle of Issus. King Darius himself came with a huge army to fight Alexander. The Persian army was much larger than Alexander's army. Some say Darius had 300,000 soldiers, while Alexander had only 40,000. But Alexander was a brilliant commander. He understood the battlefield and saw that the Persians were crowded together, making it difficult for them to move. He took advantage of this and attacked at the perfect moment, leading his cavalry straight toward King Darius. His soldiers were brave and disciplined, pushing through the Persian lines. When King Darius saw Alexander coming toward him, he became afraid and turned his chariot to run away. When the Persian soldiers saw their king running, they also ran. The battle became a complete victory for Alexander. He captured Darius's family and treasures, but treated them with great respect. He told them they would not be harmed. This kindness made many Persians respect Alexander and see him in a new light. After this victory, Alexander could have gone straight to Persia, but he chose a different path. He turned south instead, wanting to capture all the cities along the coast first. He marched into Phoenicia and then into Egypt. The Egyptians welcomed Alexander as a liberator because they were unhappy under Persian rule. The Egyptian priests even declared Alexander to be a pharaoh, a god king. While in Egypt, Alexander visited a famous oracle in the desert. An oracle is a holy place where people ask questions to the gods. The oracle told Alexander that he was the son of Zeus, the king of the gods. Whether this was true or not did not matter to Alexander. He believed it, and this belief gave him even more confidence. In Egypt, Alexander founded a new city and named it Alexandria after himself. This city became one of the greatest cities in the ancient world and is still a major city in Egypt today. It became a center of learning and culture, where people from all over the world came to share knowledge and ideas. In 331 BC, Alexander finally marched east toward the heart of Persia. King Darius gathered another enormous army and chose a flat battlefield near a place called Gaugamela. He wanted space for his chariots and cavalry, and he was determined to defeat Alexander once and for all. The Persian army was one of the largest ever assembled, with some historians claiming it had over 1 million soldiers. Although this number might be exaggerated, it was certainly a huge force to contend with. Alexander had only about 50,000 men, and before the battle, his soldiers were nervous. They wondered how they could fight against such a massive enemy. But Alexander remained calm. He studied the battlefield carefully and made a detailed plan. When the battle began, the Persians attacked with everything they had, sending war chariots equipped with sharp blades on the wheels to cut down Alexander's men. However, Alexander's soldiers were well prepared. They opened gaps in their lines, allowing the chariots to pass through without hitting anyone. Then, Alexander made his move. He saw a weak spot in the Persian formation. He led his cavalry in a wedge formation, similar to an arrow, and charged straight at that weak point. They broke through the Persian lines, creating chaos among the enemy ranks. Once again, Alexander rode directly toward King Darius, and once again, Darius ran away. His army collapsed, and thousands of Persians died. Alexander won a complete and total victory. After this battle, Darius was no longer a threat. Alexander marched to the Persian capitals and entered Babylon, the great city of the ancient world. He entered Susa, and then Persepolis, which was the most beautiful city in Persia. In Persepolis, Alexander took revenge for the Persian invasion of Greece many years before by burning parts of the palace. Now, Alexander controlled the entire Persian Empire. He was just 30 years old, but he did not stop there. He wanted to go even further east and reach the edge of the world. He marched his army through challenging mountains and harsh deserts. He crossed into what is now Afghanistan and Pakistan, where he fought against fierce mountain tribes. In India, Alexander faced a formidable opponent named King Porus, who had a powerful army and war elephants. The Battle of the Hydaspes River was particularly difficult for Alexander because he had never fought against elephants before. However, once again, he found a way to win. He respected King Porus for his bravery and skill in battle. After the battle, Alexander made Porus his ally, showing that he valued strength and honor in his opponents. After years of fighting, Alexander's soldiers finally reached their limit. They stood at a river in India, and Alexander wanted to cross it and continue their journey. His men, however, said they could not go any further. They had been away from home for 8 long years. They missed their families and were exhausted from the constant battles. At first, Alexander was angry. He went into his tent and refused to speak to anyone for 3 days. He felt betrayed and frustrated that his men did not share his ambition. But in the end, he had to accept their decision. He agreed to turn back, which was the only time in his life that he did not get what he truly wanted. The army began the long journey home. They marched through a terrible desert where many soldiers died from heat and thirst. It was one of the hardest parts of the entire journey. Finally, they reached Babylon, where Alexander made Babylon his capital. He planned new expeditions to explore Arabia and improve his empire. However, something unexpected happened. Alexander became sick with a high fever. At first, it did not seem serious, but the fever worsened over the next few days. For 10 days, Alexander fought against the sickness. His soldiers came to see him one by one, expressing their love and concern for their king. They cried at the thought of losing him, as they had grown to admire and respect him deeply. On the 11th day, in 323 BC, Alexander died. He was only 32 years old. His death was a shock to the entire world. He had conquered so much and achieved incredible things, but his life was cut short. No one knows exactly what caused his death. Some people believe it was malaria, while others think it was typhoid fever. Some even think he was poisoned. We will never know for certain. After Alexander died, his vast empire broke apart. His generals fought against each other for power, and the empire was divided into several kingdoms. Despite this division, Alexander's influence did not fade. He had spread Greek culture across Asia and built cities that became centers of learning and trade. He connected the East and the West in ways that had never happened before in history, creating a legacy that would last for centuries. Today, more than 2,000 years later, we still remember Alexander. We study his battles, read about his life, and learn from his successes and mistakes. He was ambitious, perhaps too ambitious at times. He was brave, but sometimes his bravery led him into dangerous situations. He was a brilliant leader, but he was also a complicated person. Alexander could be kind and generous, but he could also be cruel and ruthless. He represents something important about human nature. He shows us that people can achieve incredible things when they believe in themselves and refuse to give up. He teaches us that limits are often only in our minds, but he also teaches us that even the greatest person cannot live forever. Even the most powerful king must face the end of his journey. Alexander's story is one of adventure and discovery, dreaming big and working hard. It is a story that has inspired millions of people throughout history. From a young prince in Macedonia to the ruler of the known world, Alexander lived an extraordinary life. He traveled to places no Greek had ever seen before. He met people from different cultures, learned from them, and shared his knowledge. His journey was not perfect. He made mistakes, lost friends, and faced dangers. But he never stopped moving forward, and that is what made him great. I hope you enjoyed this journey through history with me today. Stories like Alexander's not only help us learn English, but they also teach us valuable lessons about life, courage, and human achievement. If you found this story interesting and helpful, please take a moment to like this video. Your support means a lot to us and helps us create more content for learners like you. If you want to hear more stories from history told in simple English, please subscribe to this channel. Every subscription helps us create more content for English learners like you. You can also leave a comment below and tell me what you think about Alexander. Was he a hero? Was he too ambitious? I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions on this fascinating historical figure. Thank you for listening today, my friends. I wish you peace and success on your English learning journey. Until next time, keep listening, keep learning, and keep discovering the amazing stories of our world. Goodbye for now.